Hey everybody, this is Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. How you guys doing out there? I just wanted to pop in real quick, tell you about two things. First is tonight's recording. This is done with Sheila Seppi of the W.I.S.H Alliance, and the W.I.S.H Alliance is an acronym. W for walk-ins, I for indigo, S for star seeds, and of course the last one, H for hybrids. So W.I.S.H Alliance is a great organization meaning to bring all these groups of people together, light workers, conscious folk, people who have a connection to their consciousness. Really beautiful. And this is when I did an interview there. She graciously allowed me to do the interview and the Aridif channeling and put it both on my channel as well. I'll link their website below. I do want to say this is Zoom. Any of you guys who've ever worked with Zoom, even when you turn the settings on to keep everybody's microphones off, sometimes people come in and their microphones get activated incidentally. Not by the presenters themselves, but by the actual software. It sometimes just lets some people come in with their microphones activated. So there is some noise. People who are very sensitive to stimulus that are like external or secondary might have a rough time with certain parts of this, but it's not too bad. It only happens for a while. It took a little bit for them to shut it down, from what I remembered when we watched it back and from what Kalina told me, but it should still be really great. A lot of good conversations, and it wasn't just an interview and channeling like most of the time. We got chances to take questions from people, and even though Aridif always answers questions from people, I don't always get to do that, so it was really fun, and we got to meet some great people going through really human experiences. So there's a lot of touching moments on here, and I think between that and the energy with just me doing interview and channeling and wanting to share that, I think this is really amazing. So I'm going to play that for you guys, but I have another announcement too that I want to make real fast. I'm going to make a standalone video on this, and it won't be much more explanation than what this one is, but I just want to make sure everyone knows about this. There's going to be a link under the other video that comes after this video, and that video is called, I'm going to call it something to the effect of 2021 Solstice Open Forum. Get your questions in. Something like that. You know how creative I get with my titles, guys. Something like that. And I'm going to put a link in there. And everyone's going to put their own questions to either Treb or Aridif. And I'm going to explain on that video what types of questions that we're welcoming, other questions that we're throwing out. We do this every month on Patreon. It has to be done in a certain format. Otherwise, it takes way more energy to do one question that's not done in that certain way. Example questions and questions. Sometimes people ask one question that ends up being 4 or 5 different questions. Obviously, we can't do that because Aridif or Treb would spend 10 or 15 minutes on one person's question. So these types of things, we'll explain it more in the next video, but I did want to make you guys aware of this because this video will be out at least a day or so before the next video if everything goes right. But either way, we're getting that ready, and we should have that out, like I said, in the next day or so. We've got a lot of things going on. That's why you haven't seen an upload in a couple weeks. We hope that all the stuff that we've been sharing with you guys has been really good and really helpful or useful in your journey. Whatever kind of reflection you're getting from it, resonance, lack of resonance, you think it's great, you think it's dumb, whatever the case is, please share what you're going through. Please share your reflections for the work that we're sharing with you guys. And please just share whatever you want. Comment section, fill it up full of great stuff. I try to answer all of them in the first couple days I release a video. I try to be mindful of who's writing on there and what people are saying. And I always try to at least spend the first day or two after a video is made commenting back. So if you guys comment on a video the first day or two it's released, most likely I'm going to see it. And eventually I try to see all the comments, but sometimes time doesn't allow. That's part of the reason you guys haven't seen an upload for a couple weeks. things with the kids that are going on. But either way, guys, we're getting ready to take our 2 weeks off for Christmas, New Year's, and our birthdays. And then we're coming back and we're jumping right back into group sessions that we're starting at the beginning of the year. We've got a video about that. We've got a video about the solstice we're going to be sharing. And we've got a video on a lot of the new stuff that's coming up this new year. So keep your guys' eyes out for that. Love you guys. Please enjoy this wonderful exchange with Sheila and the W.I.S.H Alliance. Kalina and I really love you, and you would not believe how important your guys' love and support has been for us in the last couple months, as many things are shifting and things are moving faster and faster every day. Your guys' kind words, your love, your comments, your sharing on our social medias and everything, it really does do a great service to me and Kalina to help see what we're reflecting back in the community as well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to shut up. I've been talking so long. I don't want you guys to bore yourselves before we start the video. So enjoy myself and Aridif chatting with Sheila at the W.I.S.H Alliance. Love you guys, and I'll see you on the other side.
So hello, everybody. I'm so excited that you're here for Cosmic Conversations through the W.I.S.H Alliance. And tonight we have a phenomenal guest for you, Rob Gauthier. And Rob is known as the ET Whisperer. He has channeled more than 250 extraterrestrial beings, but mainly Treb and Aridif. So tonight he's going to tell us a little bit about each of those beings. He's going to talk, and then I believe you're going to bring maybe Aridif through. Awesome. So he has been interviewed on a variety of radio shows and YouTube channels. He's been featured in multiple shows on Gaia TV. He has his own YouTube channel called the ET Whisperer, where he shares hundreds of hours of channeled videos, classes, and workshops. He's helped to co-author 3 books with Jefferson Viscardi, and he has a chapter in the book Being with the Beings, The How and Why of ET Contact by Miguel Mendonça. He also has a chapter in my book, Walk-ins, the Cosmology of the Soul, and that's where I got to meet Rob. I got to find out about his wonderful family, both here on Earth and out there. Rob is the real deal. He and Kalina, they're just a magic couple, and they have a beautiful little girl, as I mentioned earlier, Lilith, and a son, Jeremy. So Rob, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm very excited that you're here.
I'm very happy I made it here too, and I always love spending time with you, and we haven't had enough chance to do that a lot recently. I'm glad we're catching up now because it's been too long, and I love spending time with you and the group of people that you've gathered up. You know how me and Kalina have always really loved community in general, and we've always loved kind of helping put our help in building and bringing people together. And what you've done in the last year and a half since I've known you has been amazing. You brought a ton of people together, and I love it.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. Thank you. So what I'd like to do now is just really turn it over to you and, kind of talk a little bit about yourself and your family and how you got to where you are. And then I know you'll take a little break and then bring in whomever, excuse me. And then we'll just kind of chit chat among ourselves until you come back on. So Rob, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's great to be here. I appreciate it. It's nice to meet all of you guys. Yeah, my name's Rob, and I am the ET Whisperer, and I got that name through a series of events that took well over 38 years to get to in my life. No, pardon me. 2012, Okay, so 32 years of my life, 28 to 32 years around the start, and my journey took off. And it started from a long place of a lot of rough things in my life. I grew up in a family that was kind of poor in a rich neighborhood, so we didn't fit in well. My family was Christians, and we did the whole religious thing. And I didn't fit in well to that either. I had a lot of questions, and the answers I got weren't very satisfactory. So I kept asking, and then I would get the most unsatisfactory answers. And so I kept persisting, and that wasn't appreciated by the people who were at the church who ran it. I think they thought I was being, crude, or I was trying to be, a snide or a smart aleck, but I honestly just wanted the answers because my parents had invested their whole lives into this. My family had been there from the time I was little until I was older. Finally, when I hit my young teenage years, my parents didn't even want me there anymore because I just created so much problems for everybody. So I left, and I got into a lot of trouble as a kid, not fitting into the place I was from and not having a lot of friends at school. Was always kind of a rough thing. And the friend that I did have that was very close to me, I grew up with me like brothers, he lived in a different town, or he moved to a different town. So I followed him and went there. A lot of things that took place over there, such as, violence, gangs. It was a big city compared to this little small town that I'd come from. So I was exposed to a lot of new things, and a lot of that brought a lot of changes to me. And it all got pretty bad. I got tussled into the mix pretty heavily. And by the time I turned 18, my son Jeremy was on his way. And I said, oh my God, I'm gonna have a kid. I better straighten up. I better start taking care of business. So I started working, doing legitimate jobs, and started spending less time with those friends. Half of my friends had gone off to prison. One of them had even passed away from an act of violence that had gone wrong. And by the time I get to 19, I had enough of it. I needed to focus on my son. So I spent my time trying to get ready to have my first kid. At 19, I really didn't want kids. I didn't like kids very much. Excuse me. But I was like, well, let's give it a try, see how this works. And I fell in love with him the second I met him, which was a surprise for me. I wanted to be there. I wanted to have that good energy of trying to love this human being that I never met before. And I didn't think I was capable of it, but there it was, instant love. And that shifted directions for me in a couple different ways. Going through his birth was a rough process. He was born with cerebral palsy, which was a birth injury. It caused brain damage, and it caused seizures. And I didn't know what it was, but eventually by the time he was 2, they explained to us what it was and the consequences of what his health would be long term. So there he is, right around 2.5 now. Now I know he'll never walk, he'll never talk, he won't be able to communicate, he won't be able to do a lot of the things. He'd be 100% dependent on me for his whole life. And there it was right there. So that shattered a lot of the illusions that I had about having a kid, about, just living life in general, about this person that I finally found who I could love more than myself. Having the worst possible scenario laid out in front of him. So it put me in a bad place. And I had never really dealt with all the traumas that I had growing up, the trouble I got into that was self-created trauma. And eventually I ended up getting in a car wreck, and pain medicine was given to me for that car wreck. That turned into addiction, and a pretty horrible one, for about 7, 8, 9 years. I struggled with it heavily. It grew from just pain medicine at the doctors to going to the streets and getting kicked out of the doctors, and then full-blown drug addiction on every angle, pretty heavily intertwined with that whole lifestyle. I was one of the worst cases that I knew of drug addiction, multiple drugs, lots of different things I took, but mostly it was still that opiates and stimulants too. When you take enough opiates, sometimes you try to counterbalance that with something that stimulates you instead of takes you down. So there goes another addiction. And it ended up crashing and burning my whole life. And the only thing that remained was my love for my kid and my want to take care of him, because that was the only way I could bond with him. By then he's 11, 12 years old. Normally I'd be taking him to school. If he played sports, I'd take him there. That would be the bonding I would have with him in normal circumstances, but this wasn't. So my bonding only was to be able to feed him and change his diaper and take care of him and put him to bed and hold him when he got upset and all the things that I could do with him. That's what I did. And even through the drug addiction, that stuck. But after I got out of the drug addiction, that's when everything really took off for me. That's where my spiritual journey kind of started. I came from this place of not really ever being mature emotionally as a kid, integrated with a lot of bad things from right there to drug addiction. Didn't leave a lot of maturity to be had. So I had to grow from that spot forward. And through that whole journey, I looked at all the things I knew. I knew that the Christian version of God wasn't for me. And I knew about the few other religions that I studied wasn't necessarily for me. It was something that was more. I knew that there was something more than myself. I knew that there was something besides the scientific explanation that could explain why the earth was there, why life grew on it, why our universe was here. And I couldn't just give that to chemical reactions. There was a design in it that was too much. It was too complex to be just randomness. So my logical mind helped me. My emotional energy that I started having after coming off these drugs for years and years and never having real emotional maturity took me into a precipice. And at this time, I'm like, what do I know? I know that this doesn't work and this doesn't work. But I remember when I was a kid, I liked stories about people who had contact with ghosts. And I knew as a kid, I liked cryptozoology and Bigfoot. And I knew that I liked UFOs, and all those things were interesting to me because they were things that the church could never explain and scientists didn't want to talk about. It was too fringe. So that's where I wanted to look. And when I did, I found a church that said they could talk to the people on the other side and prove to me that God was real. And I'm like, this is it. So I went, had a great reading, and that took me down the journey. I wanted to meditate. They taught me. I stayed there for a while and learned a lot of things from the spiritualism church. After I saw that that too was a religion, and that like all religions, there's certain levels of dogma that can happen with people who are involved with it. And also the specific church I went to had infighting with a lot of members. It reminded me too much of the organized religion, so I kind of stepped away and looked into my own. After learning lots of different kinds of meditation, especially like binaural beats with a gateway experience, hemisync, that really took me into a whole other level of meditation. In my meditation, I thought maybe I could get a message from the other side, maybe not. But either way, the meditation that I'm doing is helping me be a better person. It's helping me get in touch with those emotions that I never had a chance to access as a kid, who was kind of depressed, and into a young adult or a teenager who was getting into trouble, into a young adult who was into drug addiction. All of this was unexplored for me. And I went through several months of that meditation, that high-powered binaural meditation. And one night in meditation is when I first met my first guide, Treb. And Treb is the very first entity that I met. When I met him, it was in an actual astral projection. So when I'm meditating, I'm leaving my body. And that was the first time it happened to me powerfully, without it being something like a human life remembering. Because I'd only left my body like that one time before and had vivid memory, vivid control, and vivid recall. And that was when I had revisited a past life a few months before that, back in the Middle Ages, when the plague was around. I had remembered the death of my family when returning from the Crusades. That was a really, really horrible thing. But that was the only other time I'd left my body. And here is this gigantic extraterrestrial being who looks like a reptilian. And automatically that word terrifies a lot of people naturally. That's built into our DNA. We have a lot of trauma based with reptilian beings. But Treb's not a draconian. He's not an earth reptilian. He's not all these malevolent types of reptilians that people are afraid of, even though I think sometimes humans still misunderstand the malevolence in some reptilians. Treb is the complete opposite of that. He is more like a teddy bear mixed with a reptilian. It's the only way I could describe it. He is the most loving being I ever met. And to see this being in astral state terrified me. But what calmed me down in a matter of literal seconds was the amount of love that I felt coming from this being towards me. And I'm like, this being doesn't know me. Why does it love me so much? And I remember hearing all these stories in the spiritualism church that your guides would come to you in ways you wouldn't expect. So I'm like, maybe this is one thing. Maybe I broke my brain with meditation from listening to sound waves that made my brain have a hiccup. Or maybe I'm having a good experience. Needless to say, he kept it short and sweet the first time. It took me a few days to get back to him, but I did, and I built a relationship with him. 2 years, every day I would go and talk to Treb, and me and him would communicate. And through this whole 2 years, he taught me a lot of things, and a lot of things I investigated on my own. You know, how am I going to trust this weird thing that's happening, that's only happening inside of me? And how can I make sense of that or verify that? So a lot of conversations led me to channeling. One of the channelings, the very first thing that I bumped into that was a verifier point was when Treb had said, talk to your friend, the same friend I was talking about who moved to the bigger city when I was a kid. Talk to him. You know, you don't have to tell him about our connection or our communication, just talk to him, and that might help you find more things. And I talked to him, and he mentioned a video, and it led me to Jane Roberts' Seth material. And that specific channeling was like everything Treb said, just in different words. The creation of reality, the perspective of the self, the energy behind how you perceive things is actually how you create that things as a projection of consciousness. All of these things without the terms that Jane and Seth had used. So that was my first verification that what was going on inside me wasn't just actually happening, and not just my brain being broke, but it actually could be something extremely real. And I went from that point on and communicated with them for 2 years. And at that level, I built such a relationship of trust and connection. I asked him, how can we do what Jane and Seth do to help others? Because I want people to be, you know, man, woman, child, poor people, rich people, anybody who wants to be able to learn what you've taught me. I want other people to know. I don't know what you know, can you come through me and do it? Absolutely. So we worked, and that's how I started channeling. And after I channeled for a few years, I met Kalina, my partner, my wife, my beautiful, beautiful sunshine, mother of our baby girl, Lilith. And she's an amazing, she does channeling herself. She's been in the community that I had just gotten into when I met Treb. She had been in it for her whole life in one form or another. So when I met her, we became friends quickly. And then when I had a divorce with my son's mom, it was just natural progression from there. So after I met her, I started channeling, not just more frequently, but also professionally. I had already been channeling publicly for 5 years or so by that time, 4 or 5 years publicly by then. And then I started doing it professionally. So I'm literally channeling multiple times a day. And after I have that communication over and over again, here comes the second being who I channel the most, and his name's Aridif. And Aridif is an ancient Pleaidian, that's what we call them. Their race came from the Pleiades a long, long time ago, like when they were in their 5th density part of their evolution or so, maybe 4th density or early 5th. And they went out to the star that's now called Deneb or Alpha Cygnus. And that's where they live now. And he has the relationship with Treb like Treb and I had. Like I always looked up to Treb for information. He's a higher dimensional, higher amount of consciousness, more evolved than I am. And that's how Aridif is with Treb. So because Treb and Aridif had that relationship, and me and Treb had that relationship, it was just natural progression. Aridif came in with the most intensive amount of information that I ever heard, explaining how the universe worked, how the layers of consciousness work. Something that always intrigued me greatly was evolution on Earth. You know, how did we turn from goo, like the scientists say, into these complex animals and all these steps between? Aridif helped fill out the blanks of how that happens, but why it happens from a soul level, not just a physical level. And what is the drive for that? And when he first shared that was my first contact with him. And it was during one of the books with Jefferson.
That was the most intense of 20 pages I had ever heard. So I kept communicating over and over again with him until I started channeling him directly and more frequently and regularly. Now I say I probably channel him more than I do Treb, probably on a 2-to-1 basis. So he's who I channel most now. But Treb and Aridif have a lot of different energies between them. Like Treb is a 5th density being, which means he's a 6th dimensional being. He exists with consciousness that's focused in wisdom. So his exploration of finding all the answers that he can in this life is what his goal is. Aridif is 6th density, which is like 7th dimensional. And his consciousness is a lot bigger than Treb's, where Treb's is like, multiple times more than what humans are. Aridif is multiple times what Treb is. And Aridif is also, I never described you guys for him for his appearance. We've got artwork that Vashta Narada did, who's a really great ET artist out there, probably one of the best that I've ever seen. And she did art for both Treb and Aridif that are very accurate. But Aridif, whereas he sounds very, very strong and very direct, and Treb sounds very fun and very breezy and very open and lighthearted. Treb's actually the gigantic, big reptilian, dominant looking extraterrestrial being, where Aridif's a very short, like 3 foot, like 3'6", I think, little blue, long purple haired, blue humanoid looking being. So when you see Aridif, you would actually probably think that it would be more like the personality of Treb and vice versa, just from how human brains tend to process that stuff. But he's very powerful, and in the power of his wisdom comes a lot of sharing. A lot of people feel like sometimes the sharing that he has is a colder sharing, like it's more factual and mental and, comes real quick. But actually, when you get to know Aridif, there's a ton of love behind what he does. He does this because he cares about the collective, not just human collective, not just his collective, but the universe, all the things that exist. He cares about that and knows that by teaching any being who wants to learn something, how to do something or something about it, not even teaching them, more like reflecting back to them from their own higher self. By doing that, you're actually growing the whole collective, because if one person grows, the whole thing grows, because we're all interconnected. We're all part of that oneness and we're all big. So there's a ton of love there. And it's funny because every time he comes in through me, some of the first things he says is, you are loved. And he said that initially, we say that you are loved instead of we love you, because if we love you, that's separate beings connecting with each other energetically. But when you are loved, it doesn't mean it has to come from me. You're connected to love itself. The source energy of the universe is love. So there doesn't have to be someone standing there pointing 2 fingers and saying, I love you. You are literally loved. That's your state of existence. Whether you're a drug addict who feels disconnected from the whole world, whether you're going through horrible emotional pain, or if you're the most loving, heartfelt being, you are loved. And that was very powerful. When I first heard it, Kalina first heard it, was extremely powerful. And I think he feels the reactions of people that he interacts with. And that's where he cues how he progresses the conversation. So he's always said it since then, because he felt how powerful that was to us. So that's Treb and Aridif. That's my journey. That's us in a nutshell.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rob. That's some great background for us to know as you go into this, because I know the first time that I encountered Aridif, I'm kind of like what you were saying. I thought, oh my gosh, he must be this massive being. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So what we could do right now, if you're ready, we could, do you need like 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, about that. That'll help me neutralize, get me in that spot I need to be at. And then when I come back, we can jump right in with the Aridif. Yeah.
Beautiful. So
Yep.
what I'll do right now is I'm going to go on to gallery view. We'll give you your space to prepare. And I'm going to open up the mic to anyone that might want to share in just a moment. But before we do, Bridget, are you available to speak for a moment? Where are we, Bridget? I've got so many. Okay, so she may have had to take care of the clubhouse side of things. So, Sally, I know that you said your son is excited. He loves Rob. Who's his favorite person to listen to?
Do you like Treb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack's got a couple of guides of his own, so as well. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. So has anybody else out there heard Rob channel before? Yeah? Lane? Ray?
Leanne, yes.
Shameless?
The first time I saw Rob was on my friend Ruben's show. And I had first just gotten to LA and to New York from LA to tend to my mom, and just started meditating and just started watching Gaia and just dropping mainstream like a hot potato. And the first people I saw were Rob and Roxanne Swain. And like, it was all I could do. I felt like something inside me was going, oh my God, let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out. I'm like that. I'm like that. I'm like that. I'm like that. And I actually kind of really, it was over the top, and I've calmed down a little bit, sort of. But I adore Rob and his vibe and all of his team. And I appreciate the fact that he's here tonight. Oh my goodness, Sheila, you guys, so
He
excited.
rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shameless, do you have anything you would like to share?
Yeah, no, I found Rob's channel like around like 2011, 2012, when I don't know, I've always been a little bit suspicious of the stories I've been told in the world since I was a kid. And this was back when I was around 13 or 14. And I just found that his information, it just felt right in my heart more. It felt more better than a lot of the channelings that I heard before. I've always been very attracted to the energies that Aridif and Treb, particularly Treb, put out.
Cool.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing. Okay, I'm going to switch screens now. Is there anybody else that has been exposed to Rob and his channeling that would like to share anything?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Bunny, hi.
Yeah, my name is Haley, but I go by Bunny Capri as well. I actually am quite new to the community because I've discovered Rob about 3 months ago maybe, and I'm not necessarily unfamiliar with ETs and consciousness and things of that sort, but I was always very interested in extraterrestrials and paranormal activity and things like that because I always grew up with things like that. And I'm pretty sure everybody here has been the oddball. Like we all have some sort of thing that we didn't fit in with other people. And that's what brings us together because we're all conscious and willing to grow together. And so I went through what you would call a dark night of the soul around the time that I did meet him, and I was divinely guided to Rob's channel and then a whole bunch of other ET channelers. And then through Rob, I ended up meeting great people. And I joined the Discord server and instantly connected with beings such as Treb. Aridif a little bit later on, but Treb I connected with him instantly. And I'm an illustrator, so my artist name is Bunny Capri. That's why I put that like in all of my handles. But I came forward on the server and I did a piece of Treb because I channeled him visually. So I plan to go public very soon with my artwork. I plan to start kind of similar to Vashta, the way that she'll channel visually. That is something that I plan to do in my career as an artist. But ever since I discovered Rob, I mean, it's a blessing to me. And I'm just so grateful, you know, that I get to meet people such as you and everybody else who is in this Zoom meeting. It's wonderful. I think all of you guys are great. And, you know, I'm sending all of my love to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I just have something short to say. I just want to say that I appreciate all of you participating in this moment. And thank you for everything, guys. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has anything they would like to share?
I can share with you guys how I discovered Rob's work before we, because it's kind of a funny story. So it was right, I think it was like at the end of 2011 going into 2012. And I was very deeply going through channeling work, especially the Abraham Hicks work. You remember back then there was so many you could listen to on YouTube. And then remember, you guys, there used to be that those of you guys have been listening and reading long enough, there are tons and tons of Daryl Anka channeling Bashar videos, and I would watch those a lot too. That was I just loved doing that. And I'm going to turn down this monitor so it's not too loud in your ears. So I was sitting on my bed one night, and one of Rob's videos popped up. Actually, no, it didn't pop up. What happened was I was watching a Bashar video, and there was a comment, and I didn't realize it was a quote. And the quote from this person was talking about how he channeled, and then I didn't realize he had a quote. It was quote because he didn't put the quotation marks around it. And it was actually a friend of his that basically had said that the channeling was as good or better than Daryl Anka's channeling. And I laughed and I said, what an egomaniac. And I start to click on the back button on my computer. And then I heard my guides go, wait, just give it a chance. Just click on it. What do you have to lose? And I'm like, it's like my fingers just jammed. I'm like, the hell with it. What do I have to lose? And then I clicked on it and I cried because I heard Treb, and that whole night I was going through just everything, consuming everything that he channeled with Treb, because it was like listening to my own soul. The heart energy was so intense and so loving in a way that I had never, it was like listening to my higher self. That's the energy that Treb had. And of course, what I used to do is every time Rob would channel, because he would have these 30-minute free sessions he used to do for people back, in the day. And so every time he would put one out and put out like maybe 2 or 3 a week. So every time he put one out, I would have this ritual. I lived, back then I lived in Long Beach, California, really near the ocean. And I would make this ritual where he would post it and I would have to take a walk on the beach, or I would have to like literally go and get myself a treat and then park out by the water, and I would listen. And that was my thing to do. So, but little did I know that we would become good friends, and I was helping him, out with some of his work. And then just one thing led to another, and eventually we fell in love, and here we are today with a little baby girl. I never would have thought I would be in this, but and he's been giving me the confidence too to kind of come out there, because my story is a bit different than his. But just really amazing, and the transformation that he had throughout his lifetime is phenomenal. I've never heard somebody do such other than maybe a walk-in, Sheila, just the dramatic turn. I mean, it's almost like a 360 turn, that, you hear about life stories about like yours or Rob's, the transformation is amazing. When you hear his story, it's like anybody can do anything. really. So it's pretty amazing. So, but that's how that gives you in the nutshell how I came to his work, and Aridif's a whole other story, which I think Rob might be ready, but if he's not, I can quickly give you guys that story too, if you're interested.
Sure.
I'm close. I got about 2 minutes.
Okay, sweetie. So you guys know that in his, I think it was his first book, he channeled through Jefferson Viscardi. I'm blanking out on the name. Reptilian hybrid. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on the
Human reptilian hybrid.
I believe
Thank
in you.
Thank you. So, he had channeled Aridif, but through Treb. And the first time we heard Aridif, because he put on a section where he was channeling Aridif, but he used the I think it was called English Peter, was the computerized, the robot voices that are becoming very popular again now. So he used that, and so that's how Aridif actually chose his voice, by the way, when he came through Rob, to kind of keep it the continuity there, I guess. But at the time I was listening to this, and then flash forward years later, Treb would relay the information. But one night on, I think it was one of my radio shows, I was having Rob channel Aridif, and Aridif said he wanted to come forward more and work more intensely with us, and come forward and channel through Rob on a regular basis. And of course, that was very exciting for me. And I had a very, very intense experience with Aridif, where because we had known each other in a previous life, and a lot of the artwork that you guys see that artists do is actually based on a vision that I saw of him. I was laying on my bed one night, and I got this flash of him, and in how you see him is kind of how I saw him. And I also would have dreams of him. And so one of the things, even though he's small, he's petite, if I remember correctly, he's actually 3'9", I think was what he described roundabouts. But he flies around in my dreams, so he can actually float. So it's pretty cool. So even though he's really small, he can tower above you. And he actually has a sense of humor that may not seem like it goes through. Like, you can feel Treb's really loving vibes, but once Rob had conscious channeled Treb, and his energy was actually quite different, but very loving, but very like big and calm, just really amazing. It was so funny. I actually laid on the floor in his presence because it was so intense. And with Aridif, whenever in the dream states, or when Rob has conscious channeled Aridif, he's actually pretty funny. He'll even kind of play pranks with me in the dream states. So the reason I'm saying this to you guys is you may experience different levels of their energies. What goes through Rob's channeling state, there's so much more. Like, there's only so much you can squeeze in a human body, right? So they do connect with people astrally in the dream states, and you can, if your third eye is open, you'll get flashes and visions of them. So they're very open. So anybody who's wanting to connect with them, we've seen people have relationships with them. It's very sweet, and they'll interact with your own guides. It's amazing. So I'm gonna shush now because I think Rob is probably ready.
Hey.
Yeah, I am ready. I did want to say too, while I was listening to you guys, first of all, thank you guys, all of you who've been around for a long time, or who are just coming around our work. We appreciate everything that everyone's shared about their own excitements and how our works help them. But I also wanted to say, that you guys should look out for Bunny Capri, because she did share that Treb artwork in our new Discord server that we created. and it is amazing. She's going to have amazing stuff to share with our community, and it's going to be huge. She's extremely talented. So thank you, Bunny, for that art too. It was amazing. I wanted to share a little bit about my process. When I first connect, you guys are going to hear some breathing, some oming, and then some breathing, and then Aridif will come in. And when he comes in, he'll take questions, and the way he gets answers to the question is kind of important. Sheila already knows this. She's worked with Aridif before. But what he does is he takes the information from the question itself. So when you ask a question, you have emotional and mental things happening in your body and inside of your chakras and your energy and your aura, you know, your field, and all those things kind of light up per the specific question. So when you're talking about relationships, there's a heart energy, there's a solar plexus energy, there might be safety issues, a million other things, throat chakra issues, whatever's happening in that relationship. And then it connects to your higher self, and then connects to your guides that are outside of you, and then to their guides, the person who you're having the relationship with, their higher self, their chakra energy or field, hundreds of different parts of the energy. They're all seen into one picture, and that snapshot of energy is how they receive the information and how they reflect it back to you. And the reason that's important is that when you guys go into it, having a level of any excitement at all, whether it's to learn something new, to see if something resonates with you, to get a reflection, it always comes back to you in that same way, because it's a dynamic of them taking something from you, giving their own energy on top of it, and then giving it back to you. So it's always a beautiful dynamic, and I always feel it's good to explain that to people who are newly exposed to either Treb or Aridif's energy, because they both operate in session or communicating with others that same way. So I just wanted you guys to hear that and enjoy. Again, thank you, Sheila, too, for having us come on and hang out with you guys for a little bit. I'm gonna take one more drink of water, and I'll be ready when you are. All right, and Sheila, did you want Aridif to share something at all, or did you want to ask some questions to him, or how did you want? Because he does it either way, but he always, my opinion, he always works better with questions.
Okay.
You know, after he shares something, but
It's
up to you.
Yes, I do have a couple questions. Do you want me to wait and just ask him directly? Or do you want me to share with you now? Okay.
No, you can wait for him to get in and do that. I'll let him know, and that way, if he's got something to share with everybody, he'll do that first, and then he'll let you know. But yeah, we'll do that and rock and roll.
Okay.
All right, guys.
And if the audience has any questions that they would like to ask, please put it in the chat and I will check.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. We'll see you guys on the other side. Greetings, all. This is Aridif. Say R-I-D-I-F, and this is its spirit. We understand that all of you have come together in the co-creation of the collective form in order to co-create with one another, in order to gain insight of yourself and others, and in order simply to enjoy that time with one another. We wish to express before diving into the constructs and queries that you have before us two things that we have always expressed. The first, above and beyond all things that are expressed in this day, to know, feel, and to perceive that you are loved, in our perspective, is of the utmost importance. And secondly, it is our greatest excitement, and within the same scope of that great excitement in which we co-create with you, not only in this moment, but through all moments of your perceived linear expression and experience as well. We will take your queries at your leisure.
Hello, Aridif. This is Sheila. So great to have you here again. Thank you for being here.
Yes, of course. It is truly our greatest excitement to be here with you yet again.
Wonderful. We have a couple questions tonight, and the first one is from Carol, and she would like to, and this is a long one, but she would like to know how our universe, consciousness, and the human history all began.
Yes, of course. As far as consciousness goes, there is no history to be expressed. In all forms of going backwards through your linear time perspective, there are simply more consciousnesses. There is a beginning, though, in fact, to the one portion of consciousness that all of us are small fractalization of. That is the larger universal collective consciousness. What is the universal collective consciousness? Imagine yourself and all humans who have ever existed upon Earth. Add them together from your past, your now moment, and the future, from the moment that the Earth is birthed to the moment that all life ceases to exist upon Earth. Every individual that is human is part of the Earth collective consciousness. Every animal, plant, bacteria, cellular, amoeba are also part of that experience and a part of the Earth collective consciousness. Every entity that was from first through sixth density that has ever existed, including those that are connected into your expression experience, from Atlantis and from Lumeria and Lumania, are part of that Earth collective consciousness. Those that first inhabited Earth after it was inhabitable, known as the Khen, are part of the Earth collective consciousness. This is one planet of consciousness. Take what is on the moon.
as a part of the Earth collective consciousness, all of the life that exists there, that did and that will exist there, part of one planet of consciousness. Now, go to all of the experiences of planets that are within your solar system collective consciousness, all of the planets that you are aware of, the dozens of planets that were here before humans came to Earth, and the multiple planets that come in to your solar system from external or from the further ends of your solar system, and all of the life forms that exist from their birth and to the time where no life exists are also a part of your solar system collective consciousness. This is simply one solar system, and there are hundreds of billions of solar systems in the galaxy that all of us exist in. This galaxy that is known as your Milky Way collective consciousness is one galaxy out of the hundreds of trillions of galaxies just in your perceivable portion of the universe. And that is expressed that what you perceive as part of the universe is less than 1/100th the size of that universe initially. All of the lifetimes that have ever existed from the birth of this universe to the end are simply the fractals of life that have existed in the physical realm for the universal collective consciousness. But it is not just those that inhabit bodies that exist. Going above and looking at all of the fractalizations that we have shared, all of those portions of life that we have shared all exist also in non-physical form. As humans, in a collective format, you have oversouls that are non-physical in nature, yet small pieces and parts of those break apart and enter the Earth collective consciousness. Now that you understand the scope of consciousness just in this universe, remember that before all of us joined this universe together and joined a co-created collective consciousness with an agreement to experience a universe and where all of the laws of this universe exist, where consciousnesses have formats from one galaxy to the other in different layers, all of us agreed that this would be the expression, experience, physicality that we have in this universal cycle. And we broke apart that universal cycle in order to have galactic cycles and solar system cycles, planetary cycles, and eventually life cycles for different species upon each planet in consciousness. Before this universe was another, before that universe was another. But when you step outside of your body, you can better understand that there is no time, that you are living in this universe and in infinite versions of other universes at the same time, but as different entities, as different fractals of consciousness. So when you can express how old is the Earth, we can tell you that the estimation of 7 billion years is an understatement from some humans. The far end of that, at 4 billion years, also a very low guess for that estimate. Going over 14 billion years of the Earth collective consciousness just since life inhabited it, of course, is a different cycle altogether. But this is simply the Earth, and all of you who are bound to the Earth for the total Earth incarnation cycle have existed here since its beginning and have continued forward and will continue until you are tired of working with Earth. All of the star seeds have entered recently, but have also come from other places, such as the Pleiades, such as the old Taurus, such as all of these star systems that you understand and know from Sirians to Andromedans and beyond. And yet all these entities have existed in this galactic collective consciousness for billions upon billions of years. And again, you step outside of all physicality and there's no linear time expression. It is more so the expression, how many universes, how many incarnations, and how many fractalizations do you have? And that number always points to infinite. And if infinite does not hold the same meaning. It means something beyond what you can comprehend from our own perspective. And even our consciousness, as less limited as it feels and as it is perceived, still perceives limitations on the amount of incarnations that we can perceive one go through, and how many universal collective consciousnesses are part of all that is.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Beautiful.
much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
We have another question about where humanity is on our timeline regarding what we call the ascension. How much longer does humanity have before we're able to ascend?
Yes, first of all, the word ascension holds connotations that are different for each human being. Some humans believe that there are no such thing as ascension. Others believe ascension occurs when you are able to be limitless in your consciousness. But ascension, to our own definition, has already occurred with humans. If you are looking for a benchmark of energy in which you surpass in order to take to the next step of your evolution, it already occurred. At the year of 2012, it was spoken of greatly in many circles, some humans believing that this is when ascension would occur. We would express that was the center portion of the greater cycle that ascension energy has to offer. And we have shared this throughout the time that we have worked with humans in this physical form of Robs, and working from this point forward. We have always expressed, thirdly, that a 9-year cycle occurs before 2012, and at the 2012 marks that binge point of fourth density consciousness, and from your 2012 9-year cycle forward is your year of 2021. Welcome all, you are here in 20 and 21, experiencing the tail end of your fourth density transition. Now, you understand that fourth density is the next layer, fifth dimension, as some of you will call this. But the consciousness of fourth density is to be able to manifest more easily, to work in less resistant and more efficient transitions of that energy. And of course, as a collective in the entirety of the earth, what is the belief that holds? That earth is still the same earth, that it always has been, that it always will be. And that construct allows that energy to be held into that layer of consciousness that all of you already exist in, that all of you have been from the earth in your birth to the now moment. There are no fourth density experiences many humans express, but of course, many of you have already experienced the beginning birth of your fourth density. Many of you have awakened certain components of your psychic intuition. Many of you have grown spiritually in time periods that are infinitely quicker than ones previous to your experience. Much of you have mastered your internal emotional energy comparative to what it was in 10 and 20 years previous. This is a part at the very beginning portion of fourth density, opening your intuition, opening your channeling, and opening your empathy. And that layer is already occurring. That layer has been occurring at this moment in your December 21st of this year for 18 full years, with the precipice held at your 20 and 12 year. You are all fourth density beings in this moment. You will experience that when your energy is aligned to that fourth density experience. Think to yourself, what does a fourth density experience feel? It feels as if you are connecting to your heart chakra. You are fourth density, and the fourth chakra is the heart. If you take your chakras and you take the density, they always occur in the same variety and same path. The themes that are laid in between both are the layers, and this is no accident in nature. The human design was created from the entirety of the Earth Collective desiring to share the archetype of a humanoid consciousness that comes into the Earth Collective and experiences 6 physical densities and the 7th density leaving physical reality. Your experience of all density is all around you. Now you do the work internally to start feeling, processing, and working at what is already existent to you. There's no need to wait. There are no entities that will bring their ships to you to save you and to create an energy for you to be ascended upon. In fact, it will take all of you, your internal work, letting go of resistance, of opening your heart, and of putting your own excitement, measures, and actions into your reality. We have shared at many occasions that your reality is exactly as a program of computerizations occur. There are outlines of the program, and that is what the program can do. These are your belief systems. Nothing can occur outside of your belief systems if it is a fully invested belief system. If you have holes in your coding or a percentage of disbelief in your belief, then the belief systems can be broken through. Your mental energy and thoughts that you go through daily put the coding into your program. Your action hits the enter button, and then the manifestations of synchronicity are what occurs to help you align more so with that program of energy. The more negative thoughts that you put into your computerized program called physical reality, the more resistance and broken experiences you will have. In this part of your experience, if you put those that are positive thoughts into your program, you act upon your own excitements and hit enter by acting upon those great excitements and focus your positive thoughts to aid your programming. All of you can start experiencing that early fourth density as we speak as well.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So, of course.
Can you tell us how you experience source? What are your views about source, and how do you experience that energy?
Yes, of course. We experience source as all of you do, by our own perspective, with the latency of the energies that are inside of us at that moment and our desire to co-create. Now we understand the perspective of humans holds that our own race is quite masterful at this. Of course, we have had much longer to practice than yourself. Not only have we had the extra hundreds of thousands of years to practice, but we have also experienced a second two-third density exchange without being assisted or without being jumped forward through DNA manipulation, such as humans have experienced. This also gave us a greater grip upon our second to third and third to fourth and fourth to fifth density exchange. While we are going through that experience, we can only express in words that will make sense for the human mind. We will compare one of our experiences with one of Rob's in comparison hand upon hand in order for you to have the better understanding. For example, Rob must acquire food, therefore he must get dressed, he must gather his keys, he must go and get his debit card, must put his shoes upon, walk outside of his home, enter his vehicle, turn it on and drive down the street to the location. Then he must go in, find the proper and correct food for him to intake and take that food. Then he will exchange it for financial energy, go back into his car, drive home, and him or Kalina will cook that food and eat. Then the one thing that Rob desired, food, is now taken care of. With our own consciousness, although we do not eat, if we did, our desire would be to go and fill ourselves with sustenance. Therefore, the thought alone triggers the mechanism of our reality
for all those that are in our vicinity that may assist our co-creation to allow that to happen in the least resistant path is sent out into the universe. And yours is too, of course, but you do not perceive it in that way. You do not understand or feel the layers that come out of that signal when your desire goes outward for the majority of humans. After that signal goes out, if there are none that desire to co-create, then another form of instant manifestation would occur. We would have placed something into a cupboard multiple years previous, and now it is right in front of us. We did not remember having it there, but yet it is there. Or a friend would bring over the certain type of food that we would desire. Now, first of all, if we are looking at exact replica of this example, we would not have to drive cars. We would not have to go anywhere. A simple thought would bilocate us, our energy from our physical stance in the place that we were to the new place, and then our consciousness would shift to that of the new place desired. We would be in that one place and need not exchange anything for that what we desired. There's no need for financial exchanges, etc. We would take that item and feel as if we should go home with it. And of course, we would go home and instantly be at our home. The journeys are separated of steps, and those steps are experiential quality of the evolution that you go through. You do not have the tools to bilocate or to physically manifest something that is not there into something that is, but it is mostly due to the nature of your experience in linear time and the beliefs that you hold from seeing your previous incarnations compiled to your now, and from your birth in this incarnation to your now moment also. When we are birthed into our own planetary consciousness as newborn children, we are already developed mentally, psychically. Our physical DNA does not hold resistance. All of the DNA is unlocked. We are open to the environment around us. We naturally understand and know much of what we need in that moment. Humans are born with much of their DNA not activated. Layers of resistance are the veils that are over your eyes, whereas humans are just stepping out of that place of self-exploration, trying to find out who you are as a human being and who you are in that place of humanness. You're one place amongst many, that human collective energy. We have gone past that. We have gone past the part that you are now stepping into, which is that place that masters connections or love, unconditional love for either yourself or for others. We have passed the place where Treb Bor Yit NE is, in simply seeking wisdom. We have found all the answers to all of the things that we desire to know in our fifth density experience, and graduated to a place where connections and wisdom bring together. Where something that we truly love, we already know all things about that love. We already know things about the energy or the person that we love. And in the accordance of that in which we are curious about, we will then dive our development into fully embracing love to that thing. Everything that we desire to know, we love, and everything that we love, we desire to know. This is the last level of evolution, of mastery. And because of this, it has given us the tools to understand the nature in which consciousness can create instantaneous transportation of physicality from one place to another, or how to manifest a sandwich if we were to eat.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Kim would like to know what's ahead for humanity in the coming months. Some say that now the veil has thinned and it will not return.
Yes, of course. This is exactly as we have shared throughout the time that we have worked with Rob and his own energy. We have shared that at the end of your year 20 and 21, there will be a releasing of much of the veils that have been over human eyes. Now we understand many humans are aware of those things that occur in your life and experience, but many humans become numb to those things because they are focused on doing other things, such as survival, such as emotionally being able to commit yourself to live an entire life upon earth, such as your children, your jobs, your partners. All of the time that all of you have are committed to all of these things. So it is more difficult to see what a structure of government is. It is harder to look behind the doors of what is behind schooling for your children, or look behind the doors of what medical systems are. Yet all of those topics of religion, physicality, health, child raising, relationships, governmental powers, all of those have been extremely at the forefront of all of your experiences, to many of your dismay. Yet all of these layers come to the surface and bubble to show you all of the places where most resistance occurs. Now you are able to see that certain countries have human beings who are suffering and starving and not being able to be fed, yet other countries are so abundant that they are shipping containers set upon water for months at a time, and yet everyone in that country can eat. You can perceive the way that the medical system treats human beings as numbers instead of healers. You can see how your government would desire to sway your mind, to allow a vote to come into their own party, rather than help human beings upon the level that is needed. All of these things upon both sides of the belief system spectrum of politics, medical experiences, general life, as it were, are able to start seeing simultaneously that the problem is not one another. The problem is not that other side of humans who does not believe side. The problems are the systems that your race has allowed you to create as a collective consciousness, the systems that have created more resistances than what they have given in help or assistance to those that would be a part of that system, systems that all of you rely heavily upon. Those systems must be shown where the holes in that boat is, as Rob would say. And when you see where the holes in the boat are, you can find a way to fix them. Many of you have learned, instead of expecting either government or authorities to help you through times of need, now you can start leaning upon your family and neighbors again. Where at one time, families and neighbors all worked together, regardless of their belief systems, religious, or orientation of political, gender, and yet come together for connection, for support, to help one another outward. And the system that pushes both sides against one another so deeply, it allows those peripheral versions of that experience to come boiling over and show all of you what is going on. This is why disclosure has been through your news more so than ever. Not initially a desire to be pushed, but one that is done from the efforts of all of your desires to see it. So as humans, what we can share is, if you desire to go through and transmute the part of your experience where all humans fight one another, where nothing gets resolved because of this fighting, simply place your intention on the healing of that which your fellow human being, loving and supporting and community, places that you can. We understand Rob's own excitement with this community as he perceives this to be a part of that which is a version of Earth in where humans can depend upon one another. And this is one multiple communities that exist due to the nature of how Earth has operated and how Earth is disconnected from what the outcome and goal that is desired was. So in the next few months, that veil will not become thicker again, only thinner. and the actions and excitements in your heart to act on those things that you perceive as not proper for the collective, on actions that you see against other human beings by others who are non-tolerant. Of course, that action in your own excitement leads you to the next portion of that energy. Working together is the part of connection, the heart chakra where fourth density begins. That is where all of you begin your journey at the end of this year, going into next year's 1 year of greater transmutation than previous years that you have ever perceived.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So, of course.
Marlene would like to know if your species is one of the original seeders of the earth, humans. And the second part is representatives of the ancient original seeders are in our galaxy now. Is your species part of this group?
Yes, as we deal with human consciousnesses for thousands of years, we have not lended our DNA, nor did we support the initial proposal of working with humans upon that level. Our own race is that of a type 1, where races that intervene upon other races without a direct permission are those that are considered type 2 in nature. There are vast differences between the way that we would operate compared to the way that many other races do operate, but our own is to never infringe upon the free will of other humans. And although many who seeded the human race meant to do so with a positivity or a kindness in their heart, many of them also did this because they wished to counterbalance an energy that in their own mind had taken imbalance in the galactic collective consciousness. Our own race perceives that Earth as a planet will attract what is desired for the best of them. And as we are part of co-creating with humans that desire co-creation, that was your turn of calling out to our own consciousness to co-create it.
And Lynn would like to know if all humans incarnate from Earth, or are they coming from other planets?
Yes, of course. If you're looking at a linear time, the majority of humans that exist on Earth now have continued to reincarnate from Earth, and even in different cycles. Humans such as Rob have started working in the Earth collective consciousness from the very beginning of Earth's collective format, even before humans started living in Earth, back to where the Khen were the third density species that were dominant upon Earth. That is where Rob's own soul started the Earth incarnation cycle. Many other souls started during Lumerians, Lumanians, Atlanteans, or even those that are Earth reptilian or dinoids in nature. But the majority of human beings that exist are a mixture of all of those. The other portions, the entities upon Earth, are those that are perceived as starseeds, and these entities have come from other planetary consciousnesses for multitude and a myriad of different reasons. Some of these reasons are to join Earth simply to see what Earth is about. Others is to greatly assist Earth in helping cause of growth and expansion, and others are to come here to infiltrate Earth and try to create hardships for others, not necessarily understanding that in their own expression of experience, that they can create more love in themselves by coming to Earth and having a positive Earth experience. One moment, we will shut the technology down that creates the noises that are here. One moment. All of that energy that relates to where and when in the Earth incarnation is a personal soul attribute. It is a decision that is created by the fractal of consciousness. When we express fractal of consciousness, you yourself living in a body are only a small percentage of your soul. You are only placing approximately 12 to 25% of your overall consciousness in your body. Those that place 25% in their body are what humans would know as masters, ascended masters that live, or those that were a phenomenon, such as Jesus Christ in your collective energy, those that could work miracles, those that could instantly manifest, and those who were more so fourth density beings than third, but living in third density expressions. These entities are unnatural to the Earth collective consciousness. Most humans are from 12 to approximately 18% of consciousness of their soul into one body. Everything that is outside of that percentage is your higher fractal consciousness or your higher self. So with that energy, that is one fractal of consciousness, and that fractal decides which is your next incarnation. And outside of linear time, all of you have been in all of the places that are star systems around the galactic collective consciousness. In that way, all of you are star seeds, and all of you, of course, are earth seeds as well.
Thank you.
So, of course.
Could you speak a little more about the soul, higher self, and the oversoul, and how that experience occurs?
Yes, of course. If you are looking at the soul, this is what we would call the entity. And this is what we shared slightly about in this moment. The entity is 100% of your consciousness. It is not just what is located in the body. That is what we call the lower fractal consciousness, or in other terms, the lower self. Now, the lower self is joined with the rest of the entity that you are. And that part is your higher self. So the lower self and the higher self combined is the entity that you are. That is all of your essence. That is all of the personality and more. That is your intuition. It is your connection to the Oversoul. So when you are a lower fractal consciousness experiencing life simply in the body, the thing that inspires you to reach outward, the part of you that does go beyond your physicality into your psychic awareness, is your higher fractal consciousness and higher self, the percentage of your soul that is not in the body localized, but is outside. Because you are humans, this is a multi-dimensional layer. You have versions of yourself that exist in your sleep state or astral projected realms that are in both fourth, fifth, and sixth density of consciousness. All of those parts together are still simply higher self or the higher fractal consciousness. Now, when you connect to your higher self and you start connecting to previous incarnations, parallel lives, soul guides that work with you, what are you then connecting with? You are connecting to your higher self, and then your higher self connects to your oversoul. The oversoul is every form of incarnation that you ever have been, that you ever were, that you are in this moment, and all of the possible probabilities between. The oversoul is where all entities exist that you have an intimate, deep, and personal connection to. And these, for your density alone, are in the hundreds of thousands to hundreds of millions, depending upon how many times that you have incarnated, where you have incarnated, or what your energy of the lower fractal consciousness is going through at that moment. There are much more than those hundreds of thousands to billions of incarnations that are available. Those are only the ones that are available due to resonance, synchronicity, or bioconnectivity that connects you with that which is like. There are still trillions of consciousnesses that are not connected to you, but are still a part of your oversoul. They are simply not a possible or probable version. Reality entity, higher fractal consciousness, or lower fractal consciousness that you yourself can connect with in that moment. And the reason you cannot connect with it in that moment, vibrationally, it is out of your arena. It cannot be compatible with you enough for you to bring that bridge forward. The parameters of your reality computerized program are not within the percentage of differential for you to have that connection. But all of the ones that are the places that you go in, or sleep states when you see all past incarnations, or where you have repetitive dreams that are parallel timeline of your own consciousness having made a different decision in your life. All of these exist in that Oversoul consciousness. And the Oversouls are part of the Earth collective consciousness. 144,000 is a number you hear frequently through the understanding of your biblical text and through numerology, even through Metatron's own cube and layers of consciousness. 144 and 144,000 are repetitive theme. That is due to the nature of 144,000 oversouls that exist in the Earth collective alone. And all of those have multiple trillions of incarnations from first dynasty to six that exist as well.
Thank you.
So, of course.
Eric would like to know if we are helping Source work through issues by growing, by being 3D avatars and growing and learning ourselves.
In that way, Source has no issues. Source is home. That is why Source fractalizes itself in order to be separate. Once Source is separate and fractalizes its own self, it becomes what you and I are. We are both small parts of the same larger puzzle. That larger puzzle is Source. Source only can know Source by first disconnecting with it and learning it through all of the probable aspects that it can be. Mathematically, you would see a Mandelbrot set of fractalizations. This is similar to the form in consciousness taking. The larger whole is mimicked through fractalizations of the lower forms and zooming inward to that energy further and further to trillions of times. It is the same portion of consciousness. It is just a minute version. If you take one tiny bead from a seed of trillions upon trillions of beads, the next bead is still a bead. The next bead can be identical to that, but they are all one larger grouping beads, and that sea of beads is Source, and each specific bead that is within are still the consciousnesses that are fractals of the larger, but each of them have their own experiences. This is something that we have shared previously, and why it is important to not perceive yourself as small and insignificant. Most humans say that we are so small of fractals. Why can we be important? How is this infinitesimally small speckle of consciousness worthy of that of larger energy, such as yourself in fifth and sixth dynasty, and such as yourself in collective consciousnesses of Oversouls? And we have always shared with them that the lower fractal consciousness is what drives all of physical reality. That part that inhabits the body controls everything that is above it. The things that are higher support that lower fractal energy so that it may have experience, because that is all Source requires. That is all Source energy desires. Through its fractalization, the Oversoul only desires for you to have experience. It does not matter if it is a positive or negative experience. It is all different experiences. It does not care if you are the nicest person or the worst person upon earth. You are still gaining experience, and that experience passes from your lower fractal to your higher self. from your higher self to the Oversoul, from the Oversoul to the Earth Collective, from the Earth Collective into the Solar System Collective, from the Solar System to the Galactic Collective and to the Universal Collective. Then our universe has one large collection of experiences. And of course, there are infinite versions of these, and all of that is passed to source energy, collecting a data. It is not something that you cannot experience yourself at a later time. Once you are done with your fun time of incarnating, although it does not seem fun, as an incarnating human that suffers and goes through pain, once you leave that arena, you can look back at all of the experiences, and you could see it with great joy and happiness as you recognize that it was not simply a game of fractalization. It was not simply a projection of consciousness for the benefit of projecting consciousness. That truly living that life experience was source energy itself, embodied, encapsulated, represented in that way for that one piece to experience itself. And all entities that desire, that are part of that source, can refractalize and re-experience all or some of those fractalizations that they find intriguing. Each one of you goes to the bookstore every day and looks upon the different genres of books, or goes to the same author, writing books in different series, and choose that one book as souls, as larger fractals of consciousness. It sees that beauty in all of those lifetimes that it resonates with. That is why you are all in one Oversoul that connects with other incarnations that go through the same themes. That is why Earth is a theme. That is why your solar system is a theme. That is why our galaxy is a theme. All of these are playing out different attributes of physical reality within the roles, regulations, and rules of that universal collective energy.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
How can we transmute fear that of our own and the fear that is being projected by the collective into the higher energy, into a higher energy?
Yes, first of all, fear is not an enemy to the human consciousness, although holding fear and reproducing fear and sticking into fear can be consequential for you in most negative ways. Fear initially is a great gift. Humans perceive egoic portions of consciousness as negative ideologies. That is your ego. That is just the person of you talking. That is not your source energy. But of course, the ego is a part of the physicalation of human consciousness from animals that protected themselves in the woods, from the very first humans that protected their children in caves when a predator would cross them. Now you are protecting your emotions with that ego portion of consciousness that transmutes into the consciousness that is available to your own self as you yourself transmute. So fear is experienced differently. It does not represent a great threat to your physicality. Now it's your motion. And as you grow, fear will simply be a reminder that what you believe is not in alignment with what you are experiencing, or what you are experiencing is out of that belief system. So first of all, being thankful for fear. When you hold fear, fear can be that detrimental energy force that consistently holds on to your own self and creates forms of resistance in all areas. To transmute this, it is simply just understanding the nature of true energy that is involved in the experience itself. Most of you cannot do this because you are attached to the outcome. Most of you cannot connect to that energy internally as you are going through because you are so close to the experience itself. We have created a system for humans to work within their own mental accounting to help them perceive where the resistances are and to perceive how to transmute those energies And that is the energy that is known as the 10-step belief system process. Rob and Kalina can share this with you. It is available to all humans to go through in that experience. So Rob, Kalina, and ourselves felt it is important enough for humans to perceive. It is an energy where you are able to look at where your thoughts that are negative emotions come from, to trace those back to the beliefs that start those negative emotions and how to reroute those emotional energies. It is one of the greater tools that we have shared and one that we feel is most beneficial for the Earth Collective at this time as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And we can take 1 to 2 queries before we must disconnect.
Okay. Thank you. Kevin
Yes, of course.
asks, says, we are moving towards the golden years for humanity. What is your understanding of this in relation to our shared consciousness, not only with your own species, but with our own galactic star families?
Yes, of course. The golden age construct is what most humans place value upon. All ages in our own perspective are golden ages, even those that are the most brutal portions of our own history, or the brutal portions of the human history. All of those energies are golden ages. These are lessons that were taught to the collective for the collective benefit. And the energy of growing and expanding within your own self is a golden age to yourself. In this moment, the energy of co-creation
Let me see.
with other humans
That's really,
to grow and
wow, that's
expand
really
yourself
swollen, honey.
is of course one of the greater parts of the Earth
Really?
collective energy. And going from 3rd to 4th density in that experience is quite helpful in that greater growth. But will this be a golden age from the human perspective? Of course, it will be one of many. From a galactic standpoint, yes, this tends to be one of the greater parts of your experience that is a co-creation with the next level of contact, the next level of co-creation, the next level of bringing your own human race to a galactic stage and to work with other races. But of course, it is just the beginning portion of those steps. We have always expressed from the time that we have shared yet again through Rob's time of our co-creation with humans, that any form of contact must happen internally first. That once you create internal contact with yourself, then you are able to disclose yourself to yourself. And once you have disclosed yourself to yourself, then all other things you can disclose. Contact that happens internally must occur before the external. You can work in physical contact now, although the Earth Collective is not. The Earth Collective will come to contact once it is able to contact itself inside of itself as well. So understanding the nature of the physical experience in sharing the vibration of your excitement of contact is the first step, yes. But having the Earth understand its own self is also of vital importance for that energy of all human consciousness to start understanding themselves as a personal person, then start understanding their neighbor, and then start understanding those further down the street. All of the differences that separate humans have to come forward and then have to be transmuted before the next step of internal human-to-human contact occurs. And once this begins to be a large theme in the entirety of the Earth Collective, you will see yourself standing front and center of the galactic state of consciousness as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Is there anything in particular that you believe that we as humans need to be aware of at this particular point in time in our history?
Yes, of course. We have always shared with humans from this time of co-creating with humans that as you perceive Earth as your reality, Remind yourself that you are a creative drive behind that perspective of Earth reality, that you yourself are not disempowered by any other human, any other governmental force, any other co-creation. On a soul level, physicality, yes, you can co-create limitations with other humans, with governmental forces, with bad guys or good guys, and all of those stories that are created for the Earth Collective can come to your front door. You can be a part of that energy. But it is your own reaction to those realities that create your ability to escape it or not. All of you are going through challenges of one sort or another for the last 6 years, enhanced exponentially in the last 2.5 years, especially in your last 1.5. All of you understand the difficulty in working with other humans, drastically different mindsets as your own, that would desire to stop your train of thought at every direction, fighting over what is the best way to think, what is the best way to deal with the problems of the Earth, what are the best ways to move forward. That energy itself is adversity. Adversity is why you have joined the Earth Collective. We are not saying enjoy adversity. You have to go through your emotions. You have to process those emotions in order to learn the lessons and in order to be a fuller version of yourself. But your belief systems about the way that you handle those energies will be that dividend of growth or the lack of growth that you have through this experience. Know that once you find your true self, you can find the trueness of others without manipulation, without lying, without propaganda, without any forms of resistance from external sources. Know yourself, and all other things and experiences can be known from you. In our own perspective, this is the most important Earth expression at this moment that we desire to share. The most useful energy that we have shared is working through 10 steps belief system by utilizing the mindset of always being aware of what you are perceiving, thinking those emotions that come along that are negative to your feeling, finding what was the thought that triggers that energy. Then after finding the belief that accompanies the thought that triggers the negative emotion, working back to find your greater truth. Why does this belief system affect me in this way? Why does this thought through this belief system work in this way? This is one remedy of many. Some of you go to counseling. Some of you utilize drugs. Some of you go through multiple experiences in order to deal with your traumas. But dealing with your traumas can be as easy as knowing that they are there and knowing that it is okay to be human, that it is all right to feel pain, that it is all right to be a traumatized human as long as you are trying to be the best version of that traumatized human that you can. Most of that energy starts with the healing of yourself and source of trauma. One suggestion that we have given to other human beings that Treb Bor Yit NE has brought forward to the Earth Collective is a simple version technique that is utilized in healing past traumas. Most of you still hold a great deal of your childhood trauma. This is a part where many of you have hardships working in because you are built so greatly from that part of your childhood trauma that you have begun to identify with that trauma enough to create a personality from that trauma. So what we suggest is placing yourself in grounding meditation. After you are grounded, visualize yourself sitting in a chair with a chair to the left and a chair to the right of you. In the left chair is the version of your wounded child self. And in the right chair is the version of the fully healed version of yourself. Speak to that child, tell them the things that you know, tell them how and why it will be all right. Tell them what you have learned from your life of pain and how you have allowed yourself to heal. Give that child version of you a hug, hold their hands. Make them understand and believe that it will be perfect. Then You turn to your right, to the fully accomplished version of yourself, and have that talk with them. What do I need to know that will help me be all right? What do I need to do to work through this trauma? After all of you have communicated, hold hands with one another, all three of you in a circle. Close your eyes, and when you open them, you have no more versions to the left and to the right of you. And that is because they have integrated back into your own consciousness. They have been brought back into your seat. Now you are the only seat, because all three versions of yourself exist in that moment. Allow yourself to sit there for a moment, perceiving yourself in that chair. Already the vibration of healing being a part of you, already transmuting the lessons learned from the healing of the child and the giving of energy from that adult version of you to yourself, or the further, perhaps as you would say it, the further configured version of that energy of adult that you are, that gives the love to yourself and integrate them into that one person. That is one of the greater ways to deal with that traumas of past and to heal yourself further. We also wish to share with you that as we are disconnecting for this evening, we wish to share with you the great experience of our own growth and expansion. As humans perceive that this being that exists 2 densities higher than what I experience in this moment, 3 densities, if I'm still living in 3rd density fully, is experience such great and large pleasures. Why would he work with humans? Why can he do to learn and experience that learning? What we share with you is this: all of us are one. We connect with you in a way that we have never connected with you previously. We have saw those components and parts of your internal self that we have never perceived previously. We have also perceived that our exchange with you allows you to grow. And because you are growing, we are seeing those parts of our consciousness that we have never perceived previously. We are simultaneously growing with you. We congratulate all of you for your growth, and we thank you for ours. Sheila, we bid you adieu for this evening, and all of you, you are loved.
Thank you so much, Aridif. We are grateful for your presence, and you are loved.
Yes, of course, and not only are all of you loved, but we love all of you as well. Adieu. All right.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that went well.
It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And I was wondering, do you feel like me opening up and having people to ask you a couple questions, or do you need to go ahead and retire?
No, I can hang in there if you can give me about 2 minutes, so I can use the restroom real quick. I'll
Sure.
come back and I'll answer all the questions. It'll take me a minute to ground too, so the walk over there will
No
help.
problem. No problem.
All right, I'll be right back, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you guys for hanging in. I hope you enjoyed Aridif as much as I did. I am always learning from this being, and he just fills my heart. But while Rob is taking a break, I'd like to introduce a couple people and maybe have them to say hello. First, I have Bridget Holiday with us, and Bridget has been working to try to get this presentation to come through for Clubhouse tonight. How did that go, Bridget?
It went really well. I finally worked it out. There were some glitches, but thank you everybody for hanging in with us. But yeah, we finally had it working.
Awesome. Do you want to take just a moment and tell people who you are and how they can find you?
I would love to. So I am a starseed channel and multidimensional medium. I'm also a galactic ambassador. And I really serve through lots of massively abundant communication, perspective shifts, light codes and frequencies on Clubhouse in a club that I co-create with 4 of my best friends, and also in other clubs. And that club is called Awake and Ascending. I also have another club with other of my best friends that are in the Alien Jazz Cafe Live. So if you're interested in Clubhouse, that's a good place to find us. We hold conversations in Awake and Ascending every Monday and Friday, and that is 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, and 12:30 a.m. UK. I also serve through Beyond Quantum Healing, hypnosis, as well as awakening and ascension mentoring and multidimensional energy healing. And you can find me on Instagram by looking at Bridget Renee Holiday. And all of my information can be found through that, or you can go to my website, which is just bridgetreneholiday.com. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you so much. And we have another good friend aboard, and that is Miss Karen Swain. And I was wondering, Karen, if you want to come on and say hello.
Hi, darling one. Hi, honey. I was just looking for Bridget on Instagram.
Awesome.
Oh my God. How amazing is Aridif? How amazing is Rob? That was just awesome. I loved that. That was amazing. And hi to a few of you that I know. Hey, hey, Kevin. Few people. Yeah, well, I don't know. What did you want me to say, Sheila?
Well, you want to tell people a little bit about you and how they can also find you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I have a podcast show called ATP Media, which stands for Accentuate the Positive Media. And Sheila was just on recently. We went into Sheila's story. So if you want to know more about Sheila, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And I speak to all sorts of light workers and New World teachers and experiences, and have been doing so for about 12 years. I work as a healer and a channel and all that good stuff. And I have to say that everything that I heard today was just absolute confirmation of what I've been told, and maybe just, well, expanded on. I think I have to go back and listen to it. Channeled messages tend to come through without a lot of personality, you know what I mean? Like they don't sort of come through. It's like information just comes at you, and you have to really concentrate and listen to it. I think I have to go back and listen to it a few times. Whereas I tend to teach with people's stories. I wrap my information around people's stories. And I think that when we have someone's story to grasp onto, it sort of really helps the human mind in remembering the lessons. But I was just blown away, Rob. That was just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And that's something I found too. A lot of people have said with Treb, they can more quickly grasp what Treb says, because Treb comes as such a very loving and such a joyous and bouncy personality, but Aridif comes in like a machine gun of information, just da-da-da-da-da-da. So sometimes it takes a couple times to listen back. I'm lucky because I channel it. I sometimes know the answer, even if I never knew it before I channeled it. Someone will say, hey, did you remember that part about channeling? Because I'm in full trance when I'm there. I don't remember anything, but I'm like, I think it would probably be this. And then I listen back and I can answer the questions right before they answer them, even if I couldn't before the channeling. So because the information comes through me, I get it like real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And did anyone notice that as Aridif was talking, he was actually answering the questions before the questions were asked? Right?
Yes.
Did anyone notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, I came in with a list of questions, asked the first one, and he answered the first 3 or 4. So it made it easier,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading some of the questions and I'm like, he's totally answering that question. It's like he's doing it. Yeah. That was That was awesome. I loved it. Was blown away. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I love the community and so many people's faces I see on camera. I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to open up the room. If someone has a question for Rob, please go ahead and use the little icon button to raise your hand so that you can be acknowledged. And then I'll bring you up. You find that at the bottom of your screen under the reactions. Okay. So who has the first question? Carol.
Thank you, Sheila. Okay, and Rob, thank you so much. And Treb, it was, of course, I was born in London, England, right? And it was so comforting to hear an upper class English accent.
Oh, well, I'm glad. It's funny. I heard Kalina telling a little bit about the story of why he chose that one. Someone said something in my Discord channel recently. He said people around the world, when they see someone who embodies like an intellect or a knowing, they almost always, at least here in the US, associate it with an older, proper gentleman from England. And I'm like, that's true. So it's weird because, I can do funny voices sometimes, but I've never been able to get that English proper thing down. Yeah, it's a beautiful one though. I always love hearing them talk about anything.
For me, it was authentic because I'm thinking no one could keep up that accent. Coming from North America, no one could keep up that accent for that amount of time. So absolutely authentic, that authenticated everything. But your own life, Rob, is amazing. I could relate to a lot of it with your, the beginning of your life, and then getting into all those troubles, and then having a son with cerebral palsy, and how you came through all that, and with the addiction. I trained to be an addiction counselor. I was born in England. I left school and worked in London. Couldn't go to, couldn't afford. We were lower class, couldn't afford college or university, and then I followed my uncle. My mother came here on vacation to Canada to see her brothers, and then she came back and she said, "Go, you'll have a better life. Don't be looking after people like I did." So I came over, carried on working, went to college and university, because I knew when my mother said to me, "Go into a bank," and I got into accounting and payroll, but I kept thinking that's not me. So I took career counselling, and I went to college and trained to be an addiction counsellor. So I can relate to your addiction. I mean, some people, some of them make it and some of them don't. Some of them they fall off the wagon, but you were amazing. Wow. And then opening up your spiritual life, emotional maturity, and the ghosts and the crypto and the ETs. And also now recently, I've got into, I'm retired now. I went on to university, I took psych, but I couldn't get my mind around the research and statistics, the algebra. I thought, I don't want to be a mathematician. So I went back to payroll and I'm retired now. So, but I've got into the Monroe Institute, so the binaural beats, okay? But during that time, I had, my cousin and I saw a UFO when we were playing in England, 1956, we were playing badminton over the garden wall. And I stuck with it because when I came here, I went to all the conventions and met the abductees. And but then later on, I had a near-death experience. Where was I going with that? And that really opened up, to what Treb was talking about, the consciousness. I was above, I won't go into too much detail, but in that I wasn't me anymore. there was this being there, and I was told to let go of everything on earth. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't me anymore. It was sort of, initially it was terrifying, but I realized I was just consciousness, that we're all consciousness in a body. We're not bodies, we're spirit, you know, we're spirits, you know, have an earthly experience. But anyway, I asked him, Rob, I asked Treb what he told you, how our universe started and our consciousness started, and the human history, right? And I got a confirmation, you know, from other, you know, I did at university, we did comparative. We were always comparing, you know, so I got a confirmation there. But Phil Gruber, who was on the meeting, he's gone now, and Phil was saying, didn't you listen to my talks? Because I was telling you the answers, you know. And I said, I'm just doing comparative, you know, religion there. But and also that near death, or that I had pneumonia, so that's why I called it a near death. But my out of body, I've only had one experience, and I want more. I want more.
Just don't want to earn them through that way, though. So.
Yeah, I don't want to have pneumonia. But what I experienced of God was consciousness and love, and that's what Treb was saying. You are love, unconditional love, not earthly love. So thank you, Rob. Thank you for bringing Treb through. Right, marvelous.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for putting your life work into helping other people. The drug addiction, you know, when you said some people make it, some people don't, that hits me in the heart. When I was 27, right towards the peak of my addiction, a friend who I was getting high with all the time, who I'd known since elementary school, we hung out one night. We were getting high together. I left. The next morning, I woke up in jail, and he died that night. So,
oh gosh, so
yeah,
sorry to hear that.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It was brutal. He was a good friend of mine. So you helped prevent people from having to go through that by being able to help them out too. So thank you for putting your energy there. And I'm glad whatever Treb and Aridif shared was resonant for you and helped you out. I made up my mind when I first shared my first YouTube video. I said, and sorry, I'm not looking at you guys, but I want to see your face too when I'm talking to you, and my screen's that way. But I said, if I can share this video and it helps one person, you know, if 100 people watch and it only helps one person, it's worth it. Because that was my feeling too. If this is going to be helpful to people. So I'm just glad it's been better received and more helpful to more people than I ever imagined it could be.
You're an inspiration, because in that near death, I was told my time was not up. I've got to go back and give out, and I didn't want to come back. Okay, but now I'm teaching remote viewing, transcending levels of consciousness, the history of UFOs and higher intelligences from the caves to now. And my near death, my out of body experience, and I'm wondering what to do next.
Oh, that's amazing! You got a hell of a resume.
Rob, yeah, what an inspiration you are, really.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
Have you written a book? You've got a book, right? Have you written?
I did a couple that I co-authored with a friend of mine, Jefferson, and I was a part of Sheila's book and McGill's book. And me and Kalina are going to write a book right now. We were on a roll really well with putting out a lot of channeling and stuff, and my father passed away, and that slowed me down for a couple of years. I was really close with my dad, and then right as we started getting healed up from that and getting ready to go back, Kalina got pregnant with the baby, and she had a tough pregnancy, and the baby's had a few health issues that we've dealt with, but we're at the point where we're getting back out and doing more work now. So I'm really hoping that in the next couple of years we'll have a book done, like a proper book that's just from Aridif and Treb sharing. And the format we had it before was question and answer. So it really is like a good way to learn about Treb's race and about Aridif, not so much because we never did a book about Aridif. But there was one about galactic humans and one about a Pleaidian race, and it was all question and answer format. So there was a lot of good basic facts and general knowledge about Treb's race, and and other races that are out there too. So
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm sure you can help parents with children with cystic fibrosis as well. That could be another book.
Yeah, that probably could be. That's definitely it. Yeah.
Anyway, Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great meeting you, and thank you for the work you do for people too.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments that people would like to make? Susie, I see you kind of leaning up and back. Did you have a question?
I do, and thank you for perceiving that. This is a first experience with Rob tonight. This was absolutely magnificent. My question is kind of like, wow, I've been doing this consciousness for 52 years, and at this point in my life, I would think that I'd be teaching multitudes, and instead I'm taking care of a husband, well, a mate for 30 years that has dementia now, and my kitty, my 18-pound kitty weighs 6 pounds, and my puppy has 2 broken hips, and I'm like, what's the difference between the microcosm and the macrocosm? If we are doing everything we can to those that have been faithful to us, how do we reach all these extra high frequencies? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I do. This is a tough one because manifestation from people's perspective isn't as black and white as we're taught. A lot of spiritual teachers say, if you just think good thoughts, you'll get good things, or, hey, you got to concentrate on this. But it's really a science, and it's a swaying science. It's so different for everybody. What you're going through comes from a decision and choice to be a loving person to someone that you love, and to love these beings that have loved you. And that conscious choice brings about co-creating a tough experience as a caretaker. I know more than any human alive, the caretaker burden, the pain, the hardships that come with it, the limitations that it brings to us being able to help other people with it. And right now it's tough, with being a person who's been with the one that you love for so long. You're at a point at your age where you feel like you got to start getting stuff done and getting to move to get in the right direction, to do what you're excited by. But the limitation, this is something me and Kalina are still going through now, even though I'm here tonight, I'm not able to take every time someone asks me to come and hang out or to do something. I usually can't, and that's because of the situation. So basically the question is, is it worth doing what you're doing? And if the answer is yes, if you feel that continuation of helping the loved one that you have with their care is worth it, then yes, then by all means. But that will require the sacrifice that goes with it. And the thing that I found that helps me the most is utilizing my time. I am the most unorganized person. Kalina is unorganized, but she went through enough college where she had to force herself to create these little systems of organization. So with her help and with me just needing to do the bare minimum, we create little spots and pockets of anything that we can do for time. Our main throwback to having 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to ourselves is screw this, I'm shutting down. I'm sitting in this spot. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just going to breathe. And that's the instinct from going through the traumatic experience of what the hell is going to come at me next. But in all honesty, that's the time where if you're really excited by teaching others or sharing in a way that you feel is, then just start small in whatever way you can. Pop out an email to a group of friends, start writing an article. And even if you have to set it down, you go back to it the next time you get. And then when you can't handle that anymore, then take your breather. Because if you take a breather every time you have that chance to take a breather, you're never going to get shit done. Me and Kalina have been doing that last 2 years in a row up until last year. From the time she was pregnant until the time
when I started coming back around to do more public stuff, that's what we did. Every time we had a break, we shut down no matter what. And we got nowhere. We had to force ourselves to make that first conscious step to say, I have 2 hours right now. Both kids are sleeping. I would rather sacrifice my sleep tomorrow morning and get the shit done I need to tonight than do it otherwise. And that's the way we had to do it. And that's the only way we could do it. So maybe that'll help. Support.
That
Support.
does.
Do you
That
have any
does.
friends or family that can support you in that way?
Absolutely none. and,
Yeah.
And my mate's sons have failed, and right now I'm like paying to get somebody to help me. I'm giving away one of the RVs to get some, because I just feel like I've studied and I've got my doctorate in metaphysical science. I'm gonna all these things. I should be teaching the multitudes. Instead, I'm home taking care of my loved ones. And I just finished a decade ago doing this, mom and dad. I don't want to be a sap. I want to be strong, but I also, these people, these beings have been loving to me. So it's a real, but I go like this, 3.5 days in one, 3.5 days in another right now, if I can get it, but thank you. I think I appreciate what you've experienced, and I'm trying to absorb that for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you can contact Kalina or myself after here, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but I'm on Facebook. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Kalina's email, I could give you that too. I could type that message to you or something. You can get a hold of us, and we have a network of great people. So if there's something you really want to share, we've got social media with a bunch of people on it who are willing. We could put that out that way too, just so some people will see it, some people will hear it. Things like that will be helpful. And getting a group of friends. I know social media is like two-way street. It can suck you in, or it can give you a place with community. And if you use it for the community part, joining communities. We have a Facebook group that has like 6,000 people, and they're all about channeling. So they're right in that frame of metaphysical stuff. Join that and share the things you can there. Little things like that you can do, that you have the little time frames to do. Me and Kalina, like I said, we've had to learn to master this. So get a hold of us, and then we'll talk further about it, because I've got more ideas, and I'm sure Kalina could come up with a trillion of them.
Thank you. And Sheila, will you put his stuff back in now so I can find it?
Sure. Kalina, if you're still on, could you put the best email address to get a hold of you guys?
Yes, I will, but I also wanted to jump in and add to it a little bit, because I actually can relate a lot to how you feel, especially as a mom and helping Rob with Jeremy, but also when our daughter was born, she was born with Vater's association, which is multiple birth defects. And while it doesn't affect her brain, a lot of her organs were affected, and she's still going through some things, and she's had to have corrective surgery. So that, slowed us down. It seems like every time we were trying to move forward, and just like you, Rob and I have wanted to travel the world and do the channeling work, and I haven't even really gotten to get to present myself, because it takes a lot just to have one of us. So I think and adding to that with Jeremy, his shared custody going back and forth, he can't leave the state, and it would be dangerous for him with the seizure disorders and all to just travel all over the place with us. So we understand what it's like to be homebound, to not know what's going to happen as far as health issues suddenly flaring up and stuff. So what we're doing, and what everyone can do, no matter what you have, whether you may have issues with like chronic fatigue or some kind of disability, or you're a caretaker, or all of the above, is to use the technology that we have, just like what Sheila's using here, Portal to Ascension. using the technology that we have and reaching out to us. If you're not exactly sure how to use it, we can teach each other and help uplift each other and network, because I know probably all of us just about watching here today have something to say to the world. And I know I do, and all of us have beautiful gifts that we need to share in some way or the other. But you are doing the work. I just want to remind everybody, including myself, is just you being present on this earth, people will feel your vibration. I know it might sound new agey and hokey, but it's true. Just existing here, being alive on this planet and going through the evolutionary growth of your soul, that's what's going to help raise the consciousness of this planet even more, especially during a time like this. So even if you can't get out there and teach to the multitudes will feel your energy. And I know that's not the same, but don't give up. You know, everybody, you know, network with each other. Rob's on Discord. He's pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm going to right now. I'm going to mute my mic back down, but in the chat message, I'll put my email. Any of you guys that want to reach out to me, we'll connect you guys. And of course, as you know, Portal to Ascension, you know, you guys are amazing and really, really good. Probably the best at connecting everybody. All right, I'm going to mute and then I'll go ahead and put that now. But I just wanted to send you my love. We feel you, and don't give up. You can be a caretaker and also help take care of the world, but make sure you take care of you too.
Yeah, that's a huge part. Taking care of yourself. That's the hardest part a caretaker goes through. Kalina's going to drop her email. I also dropped the Facebook link, guys. It's got between 4,000 and 6,000. I can't remember. It's there. It also needs some good moderators. So whoever wants to, because we just haven't had the time to moderate. So if you have experience on moderating, shoot us a direct message or whatever. But Discord, this is a new technology that we just launched. And on the first day, we had 100 people show up. There's someone in that Discord channel all the time. Every time someone comes in and has a question about meditation, spirituality, they can get one of the various perspective of people who spend time. Actually, 3 or 4 people who are here tonight are from our Discord channel. It's a really great way to do it too. So I'll send my Discord link there too if you guys want to join up there. That's another way. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but I did make a video on my YouTube channel of how to make an account, how to use it, how to interact. But it's really the next level of technology. It's got multiple various rooms or channels that you can use, and there's a text channel and lots of different text channels for different themes, and also a couple of voice chat channels, so people can do what they do here in Zoom. They just jump in the Discord and they all start talking to each other randomly. You know, if I'm up at 3 in the morning and I see people on, I'll jump in sometimes and play a video game with people, you know, just whatever. So it's a really great thing.
Great. Thank you. Susan, we can't hear you, honey.
I just said thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I will connect.
Okay. So we have a couple more questions. Are you up for it, Rob?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Absolutely.
Okay, Lynn.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing that really stuck out when Aridif was speaking, and I just have a question for Rob, because I guess when you started, Aridif talked about healing the traumas, but going to basically the root of it. Where did it begin? And that self-reflection, getting to where did it start? Where did that bad behavior, that bad thinking, that bad reaction, where did it start? And healing that. And I loved how he did that. But Rob, I was curious, because usually when you come to people, well, when I go to God and I have a lot of issues, God will always go after the hurt first in order for me to heal and now go forward. And I was just curious with Rob, when you started working with Aridif, did he start working with you on your hurts and start helping you heal, or seeing that?
Yeah, actually, I met Treb first. So me and him made huge progress before Aridif had come along. And Treb taught me a lot of things that Aridif just made more clear and expanded more heavily on. But yes, that's one of the first places. First was my amazement and my wonderment of meeting this being, like never expecting it. And then the questions I had about how everything works and how everything I thought, wasn't. And then we got into that. And I had to go through those things first to finally understand first it was a real thing. And then the questions, because I'm a mental and inquisitive person very deeply, I had to pound that out. But after that, yes, the issue with my son, that was probably the biggest pain in my life, was just heartbreak for him not being able to have the fun parts of the life that I had had, or that my dad had had, or that my sisters and mom. It was heartbreaking to me. It kind of tore me apart as a person. And a lot of that started to heal. But I don't think, Treb worked with me a lot on that. He explained to me Jeremy's incarnation, why he came in this way, why he did, have a soul that came in to do this, blah, blah, blah. That helped a lot. But I realized after having Lily, and she started off with some issues too, I didn't realize how much unhealed trauma was still there. So there's still levels that I'm still not aware. And I think that's really how people in general are. We can handle and process the trauma that's in front of us. And we do that because we have to most of the time. We don't do it like, hey, I really would like to solve some issues in me, so let's dig deep. No, you're getting your ass kicked in life, and there it is. What do you do with it? So you have to figure out how to deal with those things. So yeah, it's working at that level first with Treb, and then having Aridif help. And now I've really come to realize that kind of exchange that I have with Treb and Aridif, I'm actually having with everybody all the time. Every time I bring up Jeremy and someone's like, hey, I've got a cousin or a brother, sister, son or daughter, a parent who has cerebral palsy or something else, then, oh my God, this is a reflection coming back to me. And every time we talk, that person usually has something to say that I had never thought of, that I had insecurities about, that I was worried about, or multiple of anything else. And that was a real gift right there, because that shows me that the universe is working with me to get the stuff out of the way, that everything that needs to be done is going to happen just through the exchanges. And when I'm not looking for it and I need to be looking for it, I'll get reminded somehow, so that's kind of a really been a helpful thing through.
That's beautiful. I ended up, I actually had a special needs brother. He was born feet first and had brain damage. So something kind of similar to that. And then I ended up going on and taking custody of 2 special needs kids. Like it just, one wasn't enough. So, but yeah, I could feel I went through times like that too, where you got to see what other kids could do, like especially when they went to high school and they showed all the kids things the kids could do in high school. But my kid was not going to achieve any of it, could not participate in any of it. And it's heartbreaking. So I feel for you. I feel that, good for you to keep the positive attitude though.
Well, good for you for not just going through it and willingly doing it, but to add another kid in your life to help them out too,
Too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Teen years were rough. But yeah, I feel the urgency too. Like I'm a massage therapist, so I became, in a sense, a healer. And I have all these ET experiences that I want to write about. But then also I became a massage therapist with a healing technique was downloaded. So now I want to teach that too. So now I'm like, I think everyone's feeling that crunch now, that kind of push me, pull you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's I think Kalina had it right on the money when she said everyone has something to share right now, because of the state of the world that we're in, and a lot of things just kind of shut down. It really gave people time to think. and really feel through the stuff that they hadn't had a chance to feel through before. So I think people who aren't even aware that they are missing awareness on some of the things in life, like consciousness, it's like, who cares about that? Or, love, who cares about that? Just people who go to their job, those type of people who are really immersed in the earth experience, like 100% full on, they're having these what the fuck moments, pardon my French, where they're just like, oh my God, what is going on here? And they've got to review themselves fully, and they've got to go through their whole mindset, belief systems, everything. And this is why a lot of people in our community, they kind of have judgments. So, like, these people aren't awake, and I'm like, they're awake in their own life experience, but now everybody's waking up in the way that used to be judged that no one was waking up. Everybody's waking up because everybody's got to see what's in front of them and got to figure out their own stuff. If you don't solve it, it comes to you.
And they slow down just long enough. So I always say, God bless COVID. I mean, because I call it the great equalizer. It's like equalized it. It's made everything equal out. So thank you. I was actually, just real quick, a story came out just a month or two ago that they're having a problem in China because of the shutdown. People slowed down enough in China, so now they don't want to work as much. They won't work the 60 hours. They're freaking out. Even in China. Isn't that cool?
Good for them. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Everybody's doing real work now.
Yeah, see, we've got a little bit over 10 minutes. So let me we've got 2 more hands up. Lane.
Hello. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you so much. I wanted to ring in with the caregiver stuff. I take care of my 98-year-old mom. I left my family like a hot potato in California to come do this. And I've been by myself, and then COVID, and now we're just in this little bubble. And I actually have never been happier on so many levels in my whole life, or more comfortable in my own skin, because it's allowed me to slow down and turn in. And I artwork and beings and trying to figure out, like, we all have a team, and like, it's just so lovely to be able to be in a room here with you and Kalina and everybody else. Like, I just so appreciate this space. Like, so it's less of a question and more of a just thank you so much. And I don't want to take up time because I know other people have questions. I just love you guys so much.
I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, honey.
Yeah, no, yeah, bye.
Congrats on the inward journey too. I love that, hearing that everything's good despite of how things brought you there in a tough place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the right brain creative conduit, allowing things to come through me, I've always been kind of like that, and always kind of intuitive, and always felt weird, but now I just feel relieved. I mean, there's disturbance, but mostly relieved, and just kind of happy in my skin. Like,
Love it.
All right.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, congrats on that.
All right. Shameless.
Yeah. I was just I was inspired to bring something forward because of what Susie and her beautiful energy brought forward for us. There is a need for me to say to everyone here, don't underestimate the power of your love, of your own heart, because the impact that we have doesn't necessarily have to reflect in a way that we usually are taught to value in our society of having followings or being famous or being known for what we do. It's just in the simple acts, in being our authentic selves and offering our love in every way we can. There is so much power in it beyond anything I can say, but don't underestimate your power and the impact of your love, even if that love only comes through in the ways that you serve and support your family and support your friends and the people you can reach. Don't feel like you have to reach multitudes to have a real impact, because your impact is felt. And Susie, I can feel your energy, and it's beautiful. You have so much to offer. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Shameless. Thank you, thank you. You got me crying. I'm absorbing all of this because I really need this. This is thank you, thank you.
You're gonna be okay, hon.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay.
We love you.
We love you, okay?
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you.
I just emailed you, Susie. I just emailed you, honey. I love you so much.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I needed this. I needed this so much. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Love
Thank
this, guys.
you.
And it's nice to see your face too, Shameless. It's good to put a face. Hi. Oh, I'm so glad, guys. Susie, you're loved, right? Aridif always says you're loved, but we also love you. So thank you too for allowing tonight, because allowance is part of it too. When we get to a place where we just get our butt kicked so much, sometimes we just gotta let it go and let others do the helping work for us, especially when you're focused in on helping everyone all the time. You got to accept help from others too. So vital importance.
I accept, I receive. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And hydrate. Don't forget to drink water.
Yes, that's important. Please, please.
Hail hydrate.
Yes, yes.
Yay.
Wonderful. Guys, this has been so wonderful. You know, my heart is full. I thank you guys so much for being here, because, you know, this is really what the W.I.S.H Alliance is about, is creating these safe containers where we can all come together. We can all shed our tears. We can all share our joys and our sorrows and know that we're all there with you. And so, Susie, thank you for kind of opening up tonight and allowing us the privilege to share with you.
Thank you so much. It's hard opening up because it's so scary. You know, you think life's doing something, you give your whole life to all this and you go, oh my God, I'm gonna be this. And so far I'm not.
A roller coaster ride.
Yeah, it is. Thank you all so much. I can feel your love, and I am receiving and applying, and thank you.
Well, thank
Keep breathing,
you,
girl.
Yeah. You're releasing all that stress, and great will be your reward in heaven.
Well, I need some right now. Heaven's too far off.
Yeah.
I need heaven here on my plate now.
Wonderful.
Heaven has your
Guys,
back.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to reiterate that I don't know, was that you, Shameless, saying that? Because I was off making lunch, so I could hear but I couldn't see. But that importance of one person connected to the stream of pure positive energy is more powerful and influential than a million who are not. So yeah, the personal, we can never underestimate the personal work that we do. Never ever underestimate. It's not about standing on a soapbox and screaming to the crowd. There are a lot of voices out there doing that, and they're not making an impact in the collective consciousness. It's the personal work and the energy that you vibe and the love that you bring to this world that is so powerful. So never underestimate that, Susie. Never underestimate.
In loving our hearts, we love every heart in creation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if there's anyone out there that is not on our W.I.S.H mailing list, please visit the website at wishalliance.org. Just drop your name, your email in. You'll get all the announcements about our events, or you can go to the website and we keep a running list. So you can see who's going to be speaking the following week, and you can just cut and paste, or I think you can just click from the website. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Rob, Kalina, thank you so much for giving of your time and your talents and for bringing Aridif here. Thank all of you who are here to share and to be heard, because we see you and we love you, and thank you so much, and namaste.
You know what I just saw real quick? That we're 1,100. on Facebook now. You're 10% more than you were the other day when you tried to hit 1,000.
Well, woohoo.
Yeah, woohoo.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank
you,
you.
Sheila.
Everybody have a beautiful and blessed week again, Rob. Thank you. And Kalina, and looking forward to getting you guys out in Colorado.
We are looking forward to it too. Thank you for doing this and everything else. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Lots of
God
love.
bless. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love
Night.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye, Bridget.
Bye,
Bye,
Susie.
Sheila.
So
Love
much
you, honey.
love, love. Love, love, love.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.